Joining us now, European football expert and Bundesliga commentator, Kevin Hatchard. Morning, Kev.
Morning, Kev. How are you?
Morning. I'm good. All this talk of baths and beds, it's a wonder I haven't fallen back asleep, actually.
You've done well. Listen, you can always rely on you. You're one of our early shouts. You're always there. Never let us down,
and you
mate.
can always rely on us to send people back to sleep.
I don't worry about that.
So, look, Germany on the way back. Kev, what can you read into that win in France at the weekend?
I think there's got to be a little bit of trepidation about it because some of the performances in the last international break were so poor. But this was such a, from a German point of view, a pleasant surprise, the game in Lyon against France, because everything went perfectly. They scored the opening goal after 7 seconds, and it was a very well taken goal as well. Florian Wirtz, who's been absolutely sensational for Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen this season, smashed one in from range. And Wirtz was part of a very good attacking team that took real control of the game in the second half. That was the most impressive thing. Not only did they go 2-0 up with two very good goals, they actually controlled big parts of the game. And this wasn't like a hugely weakened French team. However, it was a France side that really missed Antoine Griezmann, who was out injured. And they never really managed to get any control of midfield. So I thought it was a stellar performance by Germany. They put Musiala and Wirtz in the same team, which was bold. They had Kai Havertz up front, and he scored and looked good. The defensive part of the game worked really well. Jonathan Tah probably had his best ever game for Germany. And then you look in midfield, Toni Kroos coming back was absolutely enormous because it brought that control, it brought that clarity and calm to midfield. And Nagelsmann, I think, has been really, really smart bringing him back because there's a guy with massive experience who can actually be a real base in that midfield for them to work on. And that lets Gundogan get further forward. So, yeah, it was a transformational game because I think the attitude in Germany has totally changed now.
Kev, I watched extended highlights of the game, obviously from a Scottish point of view, and I was really impressed with the Germans. I really, really was. You know, I'm not getting too carried away with one performance, but I thought it was an excellent performance. But I want to ask you, you mentioned the front four of Wirtz, Gundogan, Musiala and Havertz. Havertz in the last, 5, 6, 7 weeks, he's playing that role really, really intelligently, as you would expect. Because I think the one thing he is, we can argue about his ups and downs in form, but I think he's a very intelligent footballer. But he seems to be playing that role very well at this moment in time.
Yeah, he's a brilliant technical player, and he's very good at interpreting space. He's kind of got that Thomas Müller thing in a way of that movement and, you know, the areas he drags defenders into. You know, you guys know I've been a fan of Havertz for years and years. I think he gets a really rough ride. I think he gets a lot of stick. And I understand that to an extent, but he's a really, really good player. And I think what it seems to be is that Nagelsmann's leaning towards him rather than a more conventional centre forward in Niklas Füllkrug. But the thing is, he has the option now. He has different ways that he can line up. And I think that Havertz is going to be a big part of it. And in theory, he's got everything you want because he's got that intelligence. He's got a willingness to work without the ball. I don't think people talk about that enough. If you look at his numbers, he works ever so hard when he doesn't have the ball in terms of trying to win the ball back and challenges that he makes. So, yeah, I think there's a really, really good player in there. It could be very important for Germany at these home Euros.
Kev, from a French point of view, why does Didier Deschamps not seem to fancy William Saliba?
Yeah, it's a strange one. He's been quite open about it. He said that when he's played for us, he hasn't done anywhere near as well as he does for Arsenal. The point that he made was that at Arsenal, he's a shoo-in for the first team, and that's not the case with France. And so he's indicated that maybe when Saliba plays for France, there's a bit of, you know, he's a little bit nervous, a little bit jittery because he knows he has to perform, because if he doesn't, he's maybe not going to get another opportunity. So, you know, Deschamps' something of a taskmaster. We know that. You have to really win his trust. And I don't think Saliba's done that yet.
Kev, just a quick one. I think Jeff makes a very, very good point. Are Portugal going slightly under the radar for this tournament?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think what's interesting about them is the whole Roberto Martinez thing, because I think people looked at that and kind of went, meh, well, is that a great appointment? He's done brilliantly since he's arrived. And I think his work with Belgium was seriously underrated, because we had all this talk of the golden generation. Well, we've been there before with England. And it just puts on unnecessary pressure. And I don't think at any stage you'd have looked at that Belgium team and thought, right, that's the best team in the world. They should be winning stuff. They're just one of a handful of teams who could win things. So he's gone to Portugal. He made a really bold decision. I wondered what he'd do with Cristiano Ronaldo when he arrived. I wondered if this was the moment to kind of edge him to the side and bring through guys like Gonzalo Ramos and guys like that. Total opposite. He's made Ronaldo a centerpiece of what he's been doing, and so far it's worked.
Brilliant, Kev. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Kev.
Cheers, guys.
I mean, that Portuguese side, I mean, they battered Sweden in the side, you know, Ruben Dias and Paulinho, Nunes, Bruno, of course, Bernardo Silva, Leao.
But it's a funny one, Jeff.
Some side.
I looked at that World Cup, and they actually did look a better team with Ronaldo not in it.
Yeah, well, he didn't play in the game against Sweden, you know, when they scored 5.
Yeah, it's like a mad thing. Well, maybe not a mad thing to say, but maybe I'll be interested to see what they do with Ronaldo. It really will be.
I will be. I'm not sure he's a certain starter. I know that causes issues in its own way.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.